This time on the Plutopia podcast, we investigate Texans' love affair with high school football. An urban legend claims the best time to commit burglary in an average Texas town is on a Friday night during a high school football game. This is the Plutopia Sports Hour. I'm a sport. John's a sport. Are you a sport, Susie?
I like to watch the sports ball occasionally.
The sports ball. Well, we're here to talk about the most recent sport that was the big thing. That was football. The season is pretty much done with. They had the Super Bowl, and everybody lost money on that, I'm sure.
Mass shooting right after.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And that picture was me at the tender age of whatever it is when you're in ninth grade. I was a stalwart lineman. I was a lineman for the count. No, that was that was the Wichita lineman. Oh, I was a tackle, and sometimes I was being tackled. Sometimes I was tackling other people for the Goliad Junior High School Mavericks.
Wow, that's awesome.
I don't know.
What is it? Okay, so I know. Let's just lay this out because I know something. I know football stuff, but not all of it. Like I know that the tight ends are down here. You got the lineman. What's the guy's name who passes you the ball? The
center.
The center. That's it. Okay.
The center.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so where is a tackle? Is a tackle like on the? Do you guys protect the quarterback?
Well, you're supposed to. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Okay.
The center is right there in the center.
Yeah, that's where. Yeah.
Next to that person is the guard. There's a guard on either side of the center.
Okay.
On either side of the guards are the tackles. That was where I showed up.
Okay.
And then you had the ends.
Like the tight and the loose.
Yeah.
I just wish that
it's a sexual innuendo going on there. It's a loose end, a tight end. I don't know.
I wish we could play that old Andy Griffith thing. What it was football.
Oh, that
I thought about dredging that up, but I guess there's copyright issues. But that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Our team was the worst team in the league. We were 3A, I think. We made it to 4A my junior year. We just lost and lost and lost. Our band was really good though. Our band was like number one in state. They were amazing.
I'm showing some football pictures that I have from years past. These were Bowie High School games here, but you know the thing is, if you didn't grow up in Texas, you're going to have a different understanding of football, and you're going to have a different idea about what a Friday night should be like.
That's right.
Indeed,
and especially small town Texas. Scoop and I both grew up in a relatively small town. It was almost big enough to be called a small city, I guess, at one point, but it was pretty small. And we had, one high school, and every Friday night there'd be a football game. And when as soon as I was old enough to go anywhere in the car, they would drag me along to the football games, where it was usually cold, incidentally. In the fall and winter, it got pretty cold. And we never watched the football game. All the action was under the rafters, man. We would go down there and run around all night, and they would do their best to find us at the end of the night. So I can't really recall ever really paying much attention to the game, and I'm still like that. The Super Bowl was on, and I watched the commercials, and I watched Taylor Swift when she was on screen, but otherwise I wasn't paying as much attention.
You just looked away.
Yeah. Well, I was
playing games on my phone.
I started playing football in third grade, and this was not just like, flag football or tag. It was
Pop
full
Warner.
contact, bloody nose, and burst and full concussion football.
And boys don't cry.
Yeah, well, they're not supposed to, but I saw quite a few. I shed a few tears sometimes when you get hit in the head by some guy that weighs 300 pounds and he's only in the fifth
Mm.
grade.
Oh
I,
God.
I
There's your
played.
center
I
right
played for
there.
I played for the Park Hill Panty Waist. It was supposed to be the Park Hill Panthers, but the reputation we had was we lost a lot because we were the little kid. We weren't from the tough neighborhood, we were
Right,
Panthers,
right.
from the
eh?
upscale neighborhood, and the Park Hill Panty Waist is what our coach called us too.
That's awful.
It was awful, and we were out there butting heads. I had friends who, by sixth grade, already had things like bum knees. That's what you're supposed to
Oh,
see in the pros, but they were already having joints that were dislocated.
I have a friend whose son-in-law played college football, went all the way through here in Texas and played for, I can't remember which university, but he is about to receive, I think, full disability, and he's younger than I am
Hmm.
because he's about to have a major back surgery that's like it's like the one that I refuse to have. That's where they deflate your lungs because they have to go in, from the front. And I'm not comfortable with that, but it's like I get enough relief from the drugs I'm on, I guess, and how I'm able to rest and stuff. And he just can't get enough relief. So they're going to have to do this surgery because his body was beat to absolute shit from the age you were third grade
Hmm.
all the way through college. And I mean, you can get a lot of kids can go to school that way, and a lot of kids do. That's like the only way they can do it. And then they end up with CTE in 10 years.
Well, that's
Yeah.
it. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy is a bad deal, and it's causing actually the number of participants in high school football in Texas is declining, and it's
Good.
declining because of concern about CTE.
Yeah, a lot
Excellent.
of the coaches, when you had a head injury, they just say, "Well, shake it off, boy. It's okay." Because I'm surprised I have the small amount of brains I have left, but I got
Well,
uh,
when you see
into situations where I get hit right in the chin or in the face, and I don't recall the following 15 or 20 minutes before they finally
wow.
got me awake. It's like, gee, that was fun. And by the ninth grade, I was starting to have that picture I showed was me in the ninth grade,
Yeah.
and by my sophomore year, I was in a high school. High school in Big Spring was, the 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. So sophomore year, we were playing, and it was tough football there.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure, for sure.
you were supposed to be working out, before school started, and then you'd have,
Yep.
uh,
2-a-days.
your PE class was actually football practice as well, and then afterwards, you'd practice until 6 or 7 at night.
Yep.
And it was just ridiculous.
Well, that's pretty much the same for any sport that you play, at least here in Texas. I mean, we had 2-a-days in the summer. We had, we had rules we had to follow, et cetera. And it was just the same rules that the guys had to follow. So, I mean, they didn't make anything new for us or anything, but yeah, I think that's just the thing you have to do is it consumes you. And so grades are not as important, right? Until, I mean, and people will pass you. They will pass you.
Mhm.
Teachers will pass a quarterback
Oh,
like
hell yeah.
who can't read it, like it's nothing.
But it's
And
funny because I stopped playing football my sophomore year because when that was over with, between my sophomore year and my junior year, I discovered that I really liked, if you pardon me, females. I liked the fact that they were out there having fun, and I was getting my brains beaten out, and I was too beaten up to go out on a date. And suddenly I realized, well, all the football heroes, they're not having a social life. I'm going to go have a social life because I don't enjoy all the pain that was being inflicted upon me.
And then it's like your
And it
football.
was way more fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I wasn't a great football player. I was a football player because I was a big guy. By the time I was in the 5th grade, I was almost 6 foot tall. By 6th grade, I was 6 foot tall. And so they're like, "You're a football player." It's like, well, I don't know. It's like, no, you're a big kid. You're either a football player or you're a communist. And I'm going, well, communism has a strong point. That didn't help me. So
I thought we rooted out all the commies in the 50s.
Yeah, they certainly tried there.
I have a list here of people who are communists. Remember that when he held up? It was on the laundry list. All right, so we've got soccer coming onto the playing field now. What do you guys think about that? Is that a good thing? Is that
I don't think you get as many injuries in soccer, do you?
No, you get fake
I'm
injuries.
not sure why.
You get the ones where you grab your knee and go, and then nobody's paying attention, so you
I do that a lot.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be doing a full contact kind of thing in soccer. And so I imagine it's a more humane version of football, because in what we call football, the people overseas, in the UK, they call soccer football.
Now,
most of the rest of the civilized world calls it football. We call it soccer because we already have our footy balls.
Football, and it doesn't even make sense. But I think there's also some studies going on about soccer and CTE, because people hit the ball with their head so often.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, it's nothing like football, like American football, but apparently they're doing the studies. So, I mean, I guess ramming your head onto any surface, rubber or, a hard plastic, I guess you shouldn't do that repeatedly.
Going to a heavy metal concert will get you brain damage. I've been go to a headbanger show, and you can come away with a 50% loss of mental acuity.
Weren't they they were actually banging their heads on something?
Yeah. Bang your head.
I remember the song, but I thought it was just doing
that's what it was.
It wasn't just doing that.
If you're up by an old-fashioned stage, you'd be banging your head. I remember.
Oh my God! What? I didn't know that's what that meant.
Oh yes.
I mean, I obviously that's what it means, but I thought that the dance part of bang your head was just shaking your head like the way Beavis and Butthead do.
Yeah. Well, punk rockers got into the whole mosh pit there.
Oh my God!
And there was a lot of brain damage created there. So it's not exclusive to just sports, Although I think being in an audience can be almost like a full contact sport.
Okay, John, check my numbers on this if you can, because I don't know that I can. From what I understand, college football, there's one university that makes money, makes $1 million every year. It's Alabama. The only other state university who makes money is UT, and it's something like 40 million a year. I might be wrong on that, but I remembered it was a very, very high number, and it was just astounding to me. I mean, people know the Longhorn from UT, the cutout or whatever you call it. They know that. They know where that's a football thing. It's an American thing, and it's in Austin, Texas.
Well, I'll give you
Okay.
this financial figure. Texas high school
Okay.
football fans spend an estimated $443 million on tickets each season. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
God.
And we can't get any school book good textbooks, and we can't pay teachers much, but boy, we can spend a lot of money on football.
Wow. Well, they only put the money where they're making money, which is why is so hard for women's sports, even in, when we were younger. We didn't make any money. Nobody came to our games. So we got all the hand-me-downs.
But if you go to any town around Texas, no matter how the size, you will see that one of the major things that stands out on the horizon is the local football field.
Mm-hmm.
There's I'm looking at a factoid here. It says the most expensive football stadium in Texas high schools is in the Dallas suburb of Prosper. It's an 8,000 seat venue. It's one of the most costly in state history, and they probably don't have enough teachers. That's the objection I have to the way Texas has created a football,
Well,
culture. Is
I,
the money goes to the football stadium, the coaches, the football
Mhm.
team. They can always get good new uniforms and equipment. But the
That's
teachers, I grew up in a family of all the women in my family and then extended family were teachers. And
yeah.
they all complained about the coaches were all living on the high end of things, and the teachers were left with the leftovers.
Yeah. Yeah. The coaches get to yell at the kids and the teachers don't get to yell at the kids. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well, I'm just wondering about that. I know that I've seen a lot of sponsorship material at high school football games when I've gone,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
and and I wonder how much is the school district actually paying versus these sponsors? Or did the sponsorships amount to very much money?
I don't know. I will for local high school stuff. I mean, they make money. If they have 8,000 seats, I would say that people want to go see them. That's making some money,
yeah.
right?
That stadium cost $94 million.
Yeah, I'd say they're making some money. It's like
Imagine how
Westlake.
many school buildings you could build with $94 million.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like the stadium at UT. I mean, I'm looking at a picture of the Prosper ISD Stadium, and it's like,
Wow.
okay, they've got the huge screen up there. It's
That's
amazing.
insane. That's insane. But people love it.
Well, it's also one of the things that you learn from being a football player is to be part of a team, but another thing that you learn is competition. So you're sort of learning cooperation and competition both at the same time, which
well,
is kind of interesting.
again, though, I would say any sport fits that bill.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I
just
agree with you. So when I was in school, for my senior year, I went to Permian High School in Odessa, Texas, which was, that book Friday Night Lights was written about Permian High School
that's a real good
later.
look at
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was a pretty good look at Texas football.
Mhm.
It's kind of,
Yeah,
I
Permian
have a
was.
crazy story about it actually, which is that I guess I had already graduated from Permian, but I had a friend who was dating a girl that I had introduced him to. He was coming over from Big Spring and going on dates with this girl, and she got him to take her to the Permian versus Big Spring football game
Ooh.
on a Friday night. And he came by to see me after the game and was telling me about how he he had really wanted to cheer Big Spring on, but he was afraid he was going to get, pummeled because he was on the Permian
On
side
the
of the
other
stadium, right?
side.
So all he would yell was "Mojo, Mojo." Instead of saying Big Spring, he would say Mojo, Mojo. The Permian cheerleaders picked this up and started doing Mojo, Mojo.
Oh,
And to this day, 50 something years later, if you go to Permian High School, you'll see in big letters on there, Mojo. That
how
became their
funny.
slogan. And he was cheering for the other team.
That's so funny.
That's a great
It
story.
is.
That's
It's
a
kind of
good
hilarious.
story. That's a good story. That's a great story.
But the whole thing with my experience in the football culture, going from third grade all the way to my sophomore year, it was very much a military exercise. Most of these guys were all ex-military, and they kind of ran their coaching like drill sergeants. I mean, the way they dealt with people was very much like what you see in the movies of the evil drill sergeant screaming and yelling at the kids.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about our high school is we were one of the first high schools to be fully integrated. Before I was, when I was, up until my freshman year, they had a African American and also Hispanic high school.
That was called Blackshear, wasn't it?
I'm trying to remember.
I think it was Blackshear
Yeah,
High
and
School.
it was across the tracks, as they say,
Yeah.
which was
On the north side.
Yeah, and it all when they decided to integrate the high school, there was a lot of uproar from the racially challenged parents, but it went through, and suddenly we had African American students in our high school, and suddenly we had a much better football team, much better all sorts of teams, football, basketball, because these kids were really good. And all of a sudden, the racism kind of died down because, damn, we got a better football team. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird to me. Big Spring High, when I was there, was fully integrated, and we didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Odessa and did my senior year at Permian High School, just because of where that high school was located, they had one person of color going to school there. There was a girl who was like Cuban, Otherwise, it was totally white high school. There was another high school, Odessa High School was integrated, but it was just a matter of location. It just happened that in the Permian area where all the students came from, there weren't any blacks. Now, some years later, there were a lot of blacks going to Permian. I don't know exactly at which point that changed, but by the time Friday Night Lights was written, I mean, it was actually written about a football team that was integrated. And they had black players on that team. And you also see that in the television series and the movie that are based on the book.
Yeah, what was interesting is in junior high, we both went to Goliad Junior High, and we had Hispanic students there, but no African Americans. And it was odd because a lot of the racism was also directed at the Hispanic people, but for some reason they were allowed in. But I guess that was they wouldn't allow the African Americans in. That was just one bit too much, I guess. But it was very odd. But when they started winning in high school, the racism suddenly kind of took a back seat to football and basketball, especially.
Yeah. Our school, I went to Stephanie and I, my friend Stephanie, who sometimes comes on the show, and I went to the same school as well, and not not very much has changed. So, I mean, of course, that was 30 years ago. So I don't know what it's like now, obviously, but um, football was very, very important. We had the homecoming, we had pep rallies, they were mandatory, this kind of thing. And what if I don't give a shit? Well, you have to go or you'll be counted absent. I mean, why do I have to go to this? What was the impetus in making me go to those? And also, just as an aside, our coaches were also like history teachers or whatever, and they were totally sleeping with some of the high school girls.
Oh, great.
Were they?
Yes,
Yikes.
yes.
I didn't think that was allowed.
It's
It's
not.
not supposed
It's not.
It's a jail sentence around
There
the
was,
parts.
well, there was a guy we had.
Well, wait, now, Susie, if they were just sleeping, it might have been okay.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, taking a nap like nap
A
time
nap.
at
Yeah, taking
kindergarten.
naps together.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were
everybody has
just
their
taking
little
naps.
break.
Oh.
There was
I'm a little
actually
shocked to hear
guy-
that.
There's a man who was on, he was an English teacher. And none of us can ever forget him. He always wore white pants and he wore this parka, and it was white and it was always zipped all the way up, and he would just sweat. And he was not a big guy or anything, but he impregnated one of the girls, and they didn't fire him.
I'm
He
shocked.
he quit and left with the girl, and they got married.
Wow, you went to rock and roll high school.
No, I went to Georgetown
definitely.
High School, and we had like 8,000 people living in that town.
Yeah,
It was weird. And the coaches, though,
that is a little weird.
the coaches would show up at our parties, all kinds of shit like that. I mean, there was some seriously nefarious stuff happening at
You weren't
Georgetown High School.
supposed to tell the coaches about the parties.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I wonder
well,
who did. That's kind of weird.
But
Yeah,
maybe
I
go
have to-
buy beer.
I have to give credit to the coaches at our high school, John and I. My senior year, there was always when the very last few days of the school year, everyone had pretty much graduated anyway, and we would go out to Moss Creek Lake for a big beer party, big beer bust. Everyone was just having a good old time, and the coaches all showed up all of a sudden and said, "We're not here to get you in trouble with the school, but the police are on the way."
Oh,
They
Oh,
chased
they
everyone
warned
off,
you.
and as we were leaving, cops were arriving for the beer bust.
oh man.
So that was one thing. When I was kind of glad to see those guys. Usually,
You should have gone out to the hole instead. I don't think the cops ever went out there or knew
They
about it.
couldn't
Or
find
they
it.
probably did.
I ran from a few parties in my high school days. Maybe two.
Well,
or three.
I discovered that being the son of a beer distributor was actually a kind of a plus,
Yes.
and I found out how to get my hands on beer. So I would show up with beer, and suddenly I was
Mr. Popular.
I was having a lot more friends. Yeah.
Yeah, that would
And
be
we drank a lot of beer. We went to the warehouse that my dad had, where he had a walk-in cooler and always had beer on tap, right? So they would tap a keg and have it going. And they tapped a keg one afternoon, and the next morning when they came in, it was empty. We went in there and managed to drink the whole keg. I didn't even
That's
think about it.
a lot.
It never occurred to me that they would notice that, but actually they
Right?
did because it was empty. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But we had a pretty good party there.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
beer parties when you're in high school are
legendary.
legendary, right? They're pretty cool.
We used to always have a bonfire. We'd make the big bonfire because we were out in flat Georgetown. We'd drive way out 29 and end up having a bonfire at somebody's place or their dad's place, their land. And someone would always bring a keg. I can't say it's not the coaches, but there were also some really, really nasty dudes who had graduated like 3-4 years earlier, like
Yeah.
Matt McConaughey's character in Dazed and Confused. The older I get, they
Yeah,
stay
Oh
the
yeah.
same
there was
age.
all those guys around who just
Oh,
they couldn't they really missed high school, or at least the sleazy parts of high school.
and I would say Ben Affleck's character would also be that person. That
Oh
person
my
that
God.
hated
Yeah,
that
That
guy.
guy was pretty creepy.
Yes.
we had bonfires, before the whatever our big football. Usually it was the game against San Angelo, who were the big football power. When I was
We didn't have school sanctioned ones.
yeah. Well, yeah, it wasn't so much sanctioned. They just allowed it to happen, and it was a great way for everyone to get rid of their garbage lumber. I mean, and plus we went out and stole every pallet that was sitting outside of a business unoccupied,
Now,
and
see, I can't
that,
take.
that caused a little trouble with the business community, but it was
Yeah,
all
you
for a
need
good cause.
those.
I forgot
Sure.
about those bonfires.
Yeah.
Bonfires were the thing. Okay, so
Pep rallies. Pep rallies.
Yes, pep rallies. We're
Maybe we ought to
mandatory.
have a Plutopia pep rally.
There you go. We can all dress up. I'll put on a nice little skirt and get me some pom pom. That'll draw the listeners or repel them.
Maybe not the viewers though. I don't know. That's a scary thought, Scoop.
Yes, it is scary, but scary is my middle name. No.
Yeah, pep rallies were pretty cool. I mean, we could probably use more of them. Donald Trump has pep rallies all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Well, Donald Trump's upset about a certain football player and his woman friend. Taylor Smith is.
He's upset that they don't like
Here
him.
I'm saying, John. I'm saying Taylor Smith.
I know you said Taylor Smith. Taylor Smith was my cousin and Scoop's friend.
And I grew up with Taylor. We actually ran track together. There's a really cool picture of Taylor and I in almost naked.
Oh,
He doesn't go.
It's our track shoes and our shorts in our
no.
high school.
He doesn't go by Taylor anymore.
Oh, okay.
Word
Dr.
is
Smith?
that you now call him Ben.
Ben. Okay.
I don't know where
Wow.
that came from. Ben
But anyway,
Smith, I guess.
Taylor Swift is part of a conspiracy to help Joe Biden win re-election in November, according to a new poll of middle defectives, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that's accurate. I'm sure she wants him to win.
Yeah. But the way they say it, it's like Travis Kelsey is going to be part of the conspiracy, and she's endorsed every U.S. president over. She's not endorsed Donald Trump anyway, and I don't think there's a chance of her doing it.
There's a long conspiracy theory line that goes along with that. It's just it is absolutely unbelievable what people will believe. I mean, I don't know how else to say that.
Well, the conspiracy says that her and Travis are going to be actively promoting Biden, along with Bud Light beer and
good
vaccinations against flu and COVID-19, and
that's good.
Go.
I think that's fantastic. It's a total conspiracy hatched by the DNC, and the head of the DNC, Nikki Haley.
Yeah, the new conspiracy is gonna. I'm convinced is going to be Dark Taylor.
Ooh.
Not a bad idea.
So. I kind of
I
like
think
it.
I actually saw somebody had manipulated an image of her to have glowing eyes, like Dark
funny.
Brandon.
That's funny. Well, I mean, I think she's probably had a huge impact on the 2020 election, getting young people to vote. I hope she can do it again, and I hope that I hope that this guy doesn't get back in. I know some Republicans who even voted for him twice, who are not going to vote for him this time. They're going to vote for a third party candidate. So in my eyes, it's not ideal, but it's taking a vote away from Trump, not Biden. I would much rather they gave the vote to Biden, but
We are so bad. We cannot stay on a subject for a whole episode without getting into politics.
Yeah,
everything revolves around it.
I know it's kind of hard to get
revolves.
away from it. Well, it's kind of an interesting thing. You would think that Republicans would be pretty rah-rah about football and really positive about it. And the way they turned on poor Travis Kelce is just kind of sad, Of course, he got in trouble, by the way. You did see what happened during the game. He attacked his coach.
Yeah, that was no.
Yeah. He got in trouble for that, but you're supposed to be a really good team player, and you're supposed to be able to be graceful, and if things aren't going your way, and things certainly weren't going their way at that point. It looked like they were going to lose.
It sure did.
And he just lost it. He apologized.
Yeah.
In fact, apparently he and his brother Jason have a podcast, and they discussed it quite a bit on their podcast. And he said that it's totally out of line, totally shouldn't have done it. Terrible thing for him to have done, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm sure people will forgive him. Now, see, you can share your screen. Why can't I share mine?
I don't know. I think it likes me better than it likes you.
You have taken control of the sharing mechanism. Do you wonder what I'm trying to share? An NBC blurb for Friday Night Lights. I was going to talk about Friday Night Lights earlier, which was actually a pretty good television series. And I always thought that Kyle Chandler really had the coach thing down. That's what coaches were like.
100%.
Quite a bit like that
except
guy.
Except for he didn't sleep with the girls.
I think most coaches don't do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm convinced.
I disagree 100%. When I was there. Oh, God.
Yeah, but you only went to one high school. Apparently your high school was a little lax.
No, I know a lot of girls who went to small town Texas schools.
And they slept with their coaches?
Yes.
Oh.
Or they were hit on by their coaches, constantly hit on.
My level of disillusionment right now is so profound. I can't even describe it.
Dude, people are, the thing about the age of a kid, a young woman, 16, 17 years old, that's exactly what every man talks about wanting. I mean, all the songs are about 17-year-old girls. Of course that's happening. Oh my God. It's astounding that you don't think that's happening.
I don't think about 17-year-old girls myself. I mean, it's like, but it is weird. Yeah, the whole sex thing is pretty strange.
Yeah, well, high school football, the whole thing in Texas with high school football, if you want to be a criminal, a burglar, you go and break in to a house in small town Texas on a Friday night when there's a Friday night football game. You're pretty much guaranteed to not be caught because everyone is supposed to be at the big game.
Mm-hmm. And it's so weird to me because I've moved to other small towns and I've had no desire to go watch any of their football, like Asheville, North Carolina. Why? No. When I was in high school,
I never really had the bug. I never was that much into it myself. But now, Marcia is totally nuts about football.
Yeah.
And I think she has fond memories of her, watching football games with her dad. And I have a son-in-law who's a maniac about football too.
Yeah, my wife is a total football fan. She was, when I met her, she had season tickets to the Oakland Raiders games. I mean, just
Oh my gosh.
die
That's
hard.
pretty
She has all,
hardcore.
yeah. And then
And that's a scary, scary group of people.
yeah, yeah. But,
The people who
yeah,
used to like the Raiders back then are terrifying.
yeah. Well,
This was
she was
back when you could
terrifying there.
this was back when you could afford to buy tickets to a football game.
Yeah, and
They're kind of expensive now.
and she, when the Oakland Invaders became the local team, because the Raiders left, they went to they became the Oakland Traders and went to L.A. Then
Yeah, they did.
we had uh, whatever that league was, USFL team was the Oakland Invaders. So she got season tickets.
Wow.
I play along because I'm nice. I believe in equal opportunity for everyone. And when the football game's on, we'll pop a cork of some wine and enjoy the game.
Sometimes a really good game. I mean, like I was astounded by how good that game was. I really was.
Yes.
I haven't watched football in years, and that was the game to watch for
Yeah,
sure.
because usually these big games lately have been kind of a blowout. It's like one team will just murder the other one, and it's like 40-0. It's like no,
yeah, you're like, I don't want to see
that
this
was
anymore.
that was actual competition.
Yes, yes, and they both really wanted to win, and it was just tit for tat. You score, they score, you score. It was fantastic.
Okay, but yeah, the whole thing with the educational system in Texas is really odd, because my daughter, she was born in Texas when I was in college, but we moved to the Bay Area, and the schools there, I mean, they weren't perfect, but they were pretty well funded, and I look back at what's going on with the schools now. Teachers may or may not be well paid, and
Well, it's like
the
Westlake. They
the
can
football program is getting all the money.
Well, no, I would disagree with that. I think that it generates money and therefore it uses that money. But a town like Westlake can tax themselves at a very high rate specifically for schools. And that's what places like Westlake, who have great schools, not only great football teams, but really good schools, that's what they do. And when I lived in Georgetown, it was a wealthy community. I mean, I wasn't wealthy, but it was, they had the Wolves are out there, they own everything. But if you can find, which is a thing, I think, like these charter schools, but if you can find an area where people get together and form their own little town, like what is this place down south? The sun something, they have their own zip code, and you don't put Austin on it at all.
Sun
it's like
Valley?
on Brody. There you
Yeah.
go. That they could tax themselves if they wanted to make their schools better. But
Sunset Valley. It's Sunset Valley. I said Sun Valley. Yeah.
And then sadly, there are, communities who can't do that because they don't make enough money to tax themselves at a higher rate. So they get real screwed. And they get the teachers who don't work at Westlake, who get paid. So, you take a real big pay cut to move from Westlake to whatever, Reagan, I guess.
Yeah, I come from a family where most of the women in my family that I grew up with were school teachers. My mom was a teacher. She was actually a substitute teacher for me when I was in 5th grade, which was a very long school day for me. And
I was put in my mom's class, and I had to go to the counselor and say, you've got to be kidding me. I'm 16 and I do not care for her right now.
But I talking to all the school teacher women in my family, they all had the same problem. If they wanted to do the lesson plan that they had in mind, they basically had to pull out their own money and do the supplies
Yep.
because, they
Or have
never
a
seemed to
bake
have a
sale.
shortage of footballs and uniforms and stuff. But when it came to giving a teacher the equipment to teach, they always were a little short there. Oh, well, we don't have that in the budget, but we can go buy a new blocking sled for the football team. But don't,
Right.
you can forget about those chalkboards and erasers
It's
and
just
paper.
so ingrained in us. And I wonder now that Texas has attracted all of these people from, different parts of the country and even the world, if that will survive. And not like I think it's a great thing or a bad thing. I just wonder if that's something that Texas will keep, like Austin is not really weird anymore. We've been in kind of diluted the weirdness, I guess I'd say, with people coming in, like I said. So I wonder what else we'll lose as far as our what do you call it? Not our history, but our culture.
Or we're going to lose the ability to teach real history. Moms for
Yeah.
Liberty are going to come in and give us their version of liberty, and it's not very pretty.
You mean their porn star woman, the woman who got busted for having a lesbian affair? She was one of the heads of that Mothers for Liberty. Did
Oh,
you hear about that?
no,
And
no,
the
I missed that
the
one.
husband the husband says, "Oh yeah, look that up real quick." So one of the Mothers of Liberty said, she's against the queer, get all the LGBT stuff out of there. And then we find out that she's not only been having a three-way, but it's a three-way relationship that has been going on for more than a year. And the husband said he was the third.
Yeah,
So he's a beard.
yeah. They go by the old rule of do like I say, not like I do.
I mean, it's just like you can't, like Fonnie Willis, you cannot be above, you have to be above reproach if you're gonna do something like take a swing at the king, right? I mean, you can't have something like this crap in your back pocket. I just don't, I mean, it was so irritating when that happened. I'm sorry, I got off on that again, but
Well, yeah. I mean, it's hard to avoid talking about Texas politics, especially when we're talking about Texas, because we've had a very interesting thing happen here. I mean, Texas was run by Democrats for a long time, and then it started moving to the right, and it happened gradually over a fairly long period of time. I think it shifted a bit more like when Rick Perry was the governor. And I don't know, like in 2001, the Texas House was still led by the Democrats,
Well,
but it wasn't too
Spring,
long after that the Republicans completely took over.
our hometown
completely.
Big Spring has created a couple of big billionaire Republican funders. Tim Dunn grew up in Big Spring and is headquartered in Midland, and then with Brent Ryan, who was the son of a woman I went to school with. He's a big funder of the Republican Party as well. Yeah, and
Yeah, right. What about George Soros?
yeah, but that's what's really happening is the rank and file of Texas, they contribute some money, but the majority of the funding, especially for the Republican Party, is coming from a handful of very rich oil people.
It's
And they
true.
haven't been. It seems like the debt. Go ahead.
Well, it's kind of a new thing to have people who are essentially like comfortable with neo-Nazis to be running the state. And I think there's actually a lot. The party is more complicated than, I mean, you have like Abbott trying to be a mini Trump and that sort of thing, but I'm not sure that the entire Texas Republican Party is on board with this move to the far right. And we can hope, fingers crossed, that it's
Why do you
not going to be
who
a
makes
permanent thing.
what is it about what is making you think that? Because I don't see that at
Well,
all. I see us going way further right than we are right now.
oh, really? Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh man, it's just getting
Yeah.
started.
Well,
There's a kind of hysteria that is like, it's not just in Texas, it's throughout the country. You have this thing that kind of emanates from Trump and his bunch, but it was kind of there before. These people who are the very, very far right, and they've been considered for most of my life to be the kind of the lunatic fringe, and now suddenly they have some power. And the problem I see with it is that they're starting to be more completely upfront about their intentions. And I really don't think people are going to be on board with that.
Well, the whole push.
I think basically you give them enough rope, they're going to hang themselves eventually here.
But the push to really be pro Vladimir Putin, be pro Russian among this bunch, that's I see starting to lose them a lot of support within the party, because it used to be the Republicans especially were very anti-communist, anti-Russian,
do you remember
and now all of a sudden he's their hero.
Yeah, like we used to see propaganda films all the time, like Rocky versus the Russian. It was always the Russians who invaded us on Wolverines. What was the name of that movie? Red Dawn.
Well,
Tucker it was
Carlson
always the Russians. He's over there.
Yeah. Doing the interview, the supposed interview with Putin, which basically he just sat there and let him talk, just
and laughed like a freak.
And
then they made fun of him on TV.
Starting to make a lot of more middle of the road Republicans wonder what's going on in their party.
I think if you have someone like Lindsey Graham and pretty much Nikki Haley and everyone, Rick Ramaswamy, and all of these people who are saying, I wish it wasn't him, but I will support the Republican who is nominated. I mean, they all raised their hands except for Chris Christie at the debate. Haley's going to go for that. Right now, she's in a battle with Stefanik for VP, is what I think.
No, but she doesn't have a chance in hell of becoming the VP.
No.
Not if Trump is going to be the candidate.
Yeah, he's upset with her already. So it'll be some tool that he chooses as his VP. Somebody who's.
God, I hope it's not Stefanik. She's apparently.
Oh, George Santos is available. He's unemployed.
No, that Stefanik woman scares me. I mean, her name was written on a piece of paper they found in the toilet at Mar-a-Lago. Of a picture of it.
Okay.
Yeah, you remember? That's how they found out that he was shoving shit down the paper down the toilet. They had all of these plumbing problems in the White House. This is like old shit.
He just thought it was a
file
cabinet. He didn't know the difference.
And he would rip shit up, and people would come back and they had to tape up all of these notes that he had ripped into tiny pieces, because you can't do that as the president. That goes into the archives. And there are pictures of him, literally, of pieces of paper that hadn't flushed all the way down, that the plumbers who were doing the White House thing found. And it's just, I mean, he was destroying presidential whatever. memos.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes left.
You know what? I don't
we
think that
need
Trump
to-
ever played football.
No, I don't
Bone
think he did.
spurs.
Yeah,
Put that
so
bone spurs.
yeah, there was a lot of that going on. But we
Yeah.
just have to remember that our schools are important, and athletics are important too. I mean, it's good to have kids out there, getting exercise, but one would hope that our politicians would find a little middle ground for education where, sure, you can fund the football program, but let's give the teachers an equal share.
And keep your religion.
It's
out of
letting
my
me
school.
share this screen.
There you go.
Eureka!
We've been healed.
Just-
Hallelujah. Put your hand on the microphone and
In the microwave.
I'm a
Well, it
happy
was-
camper.
well, we're all happy campers. It was happy camping with you folks for another
Right on.
fiesta of
It
fun
was.
and frivolity.
Yeah.
Yes,
So let's-
thank you very much. As always,
Let's
I
start our
enjoyed
own
it.
little football team.
Yo ho.
Okay. Adios.
Well, see you next time. Next
Later,
week.
Tater.
Adios.
Bye.
You can stay in touch with Plutopia at plutopia.io. On Facebook, look for @Plutopia News. On Twitter, it's @Plutopia. This is the Plutopia News Network, 20 minutes into the future.